So once we've come into a supine position, where the back body is relaxed down, we allow the entire body to begin to soften. Anywhere where we might be trying to actively hold ourselves up, often the glutes will be a bit switched on, the shoulders will be a bit switched on. We just allow all of those muscles to become soft, heavy, relaxing down with gravity. Allow your awareness to travel towards your breath, how it draws in and out of the torso. Because we're relaxed down within the muscles of the body, we should find that naturally the breath is full and complete. We're not restricting it by engaging through the chest, diaphragm or belly. However, we place no pressure on the breath to be a certain way. We don't need the breath to follow a specific pattern. We don't need to count the breath. We instead just allow it to be natural, full and gentle. When you're ready, slide both legs into a bend. Untuck the tailbone so that the tailbone shines very subtly upwards, and then draw your knees wide. Allow the soles of the feet to come together, and the hands can either rest on your tummy or out by your side, or for a more intense sensation, we can rest the arms back in a lovely square position so we're framing the head, holding the opposing elbow. Allow your eyebrows, your forehead, your cheeks and your jaw to all soften down. The shoulders, the hands, everything becomes heavy and surrenders down with gravity. As you disengage the muscles, you might find that your pose looks a little bit different. If we started with a nice tight frame around the head, you might find that as you relax the hands, your arms begin to splay wide. That is absolutely fine. We allow in Yin the pose to work around our body, rather than our body trying to perform a specific aesthetic of each pose. It can be really difficult to relax the muscles of the target area. For example, here, the inner hips, the groin are all being targeted through this lovely hip opener. But we might find that the glutes, the lower back, the hamstrings and quads, the adductors and abductors begin to mildly engage to resist the depth of the pose. The more the muscles switch on and resist, the more uncomfortable the sensations tend to become. The more we soften and relax, surrendering down with gravity, trusting in our awareness of what feels right for our body, the more gentle the sensations become. We'll often find that if we consider the sensations as a spectrum, from no sensation at all to really intense sensations that we would need to move out of, that will often be around the middle point. We're just allowing gravity to relax and release our attention within these deep areas of our body. You might start off near the more intense end of the spectrum, and often it will ebb and flow down and down until we reach sensations that feel enjoyable. Even though physically you might be at a deeper state, the sensations might be less intense. If you find that we're not receiving that ebb and flow or that gentle dissipation of intense stretch sensation, then it's probably because we are switched on and engaged, or because the pose is not right for us. It's thought that with all bodies there will be yin poses that just aren't quite right, and you'll know intuitively the difference between the lovely yin sensation, which starts off super intense and we feel comfortable enough to relax down into it, and the sensation of pain that we would want to avoid. We always want to show our body as much compassion and love as possible, whilst also practicing discipline and stillness. Often that's quite an intuitive balance in yin. You'll know your body and your limits. When you're feeling ready, as slowly as you can, we heel toe the feet wide, and we draw the feet as wide as the mat. The knees fall against one another, and your arms come all the way down by your side. This is quite a nice relaxation, not just for the shoulders, not just for the hips and the abductors, but also for the lower back. You get a little bit more of a flat back here, whereas before we might have had a little bit more of an arched back. Just allow your forehead, your eyelids, everything's heavy and melted down. Throughout yin, you might want to tap into that darkness that relates with yin by closing your eyelids down and allowing that space to shut out the external and just be. However, for some people this might stimulate a little bit more so. It might not feel safe. So if you feel more comfortable with your eyes open, then we keep the eyelids open, but we still the pupils. As long as the pupils are still, eyelids open or closed, we're not stimulating the brain. We're not signaling to the brain that there's anything external that we need to be focused on. And the same can be said for each of our yin poses. We are attempting to still the mind, to still the energy, by slowing the breath, stilling the body, and allowing space for silence. When you're feeling ready, we're coming into a lovely upright position. So to make our way there, move as slowly and as intuitively as you can. You might roll onto one side. It's completely up to you how you move in your transitions, but I would normally use the arms quite a lot, just as the legs are often working quite hard in yin. Okay, so from here, we're moving into our next pose. The legs are going to come wide. The arms come out in front, and if we feel comfortable too, we walk the hands slowly forwards, like so. So in this pose, you might want that lovely yin approach, where we take that simplicity of just using the body, the heaviness of gravity, and the hardness of the ground. All three of these elements working together, and we're just surrendering down. We're just relaxing completely to enable our pose to become deeper and deeper. Or you might want to incorporate more of a restorative element. If you do want to incorporate a restorative element, that might mean placing pillows or blankets underneath your knees. It might mean hugging a bolster to bring more of a nurturing element into your pose. It's completely up to you how you practice. Restorative could be defined as maybe leaning a bit more into that nurturing, compassionate side of the spectrum, and Yin might be described as a little bit more on the discipline end of the spectrum. You can meet in the middle, just taking little props like a little blanket underneath the knees, yet still really targeting the hips with that forward fold. It's completely up to you how you practice, as long as it's intuitive, as long as it's you responding to how your body feels in the present moment, rather than going through the motions. We allow ourselves to change it up each week, each moment. We don't expect the left side of the body to do the same thing as the right. We don't expect today's body to do the same thing as it did last week. When we practice Yin on a regular basis, week on week, it can be seen as just undoing the tensions of the week, releasing away what you'd like to let go from your body, from your energy field. We're allowing enough stillness that you can simply observe what you're carrying within your body. And because we're in a state of being, you don't need to trace back. For example, if you feel a tension in your hips, in your neck, we don't have to decide what that's due to, why we're feeling that. If we find emotions arise, we don't need to actively decide to release them away. If we notice what we might observe as a blockage, a stagnation of energy, we don't need to purposefully clear that. All we need to do in Yin is be in awareness. We just need to exist in our natural state, allowing each and every different part of yourself to be exactly as it is, to be non-doing, without the need to change or do anything at all. The areas in which this is hardest is the mind, and then the body. Often the mind will be wandering throughout your entire session today. It wanders because of the uncomfortable, unfamiliar silence. It wanders because of the discomfort of the pose, or intensity of the pose, I should say. It wanders because we're tapping into areas that hold emotion and tension. We could be releasing some stuff back into the mind. It wanders for all sorts of reasons. And we allow ourselves to simply observe from the observer state, where you're non-attached from each and every thought that you observe, meaning there is no thought that is more important or less important. No thought that reflects who you are. You're separate from each and every thought. Whether it's a simple habitual thought, whether it's a random thought that's just plopped in out of nowhere, or whether it's a very attached thought that feels like you created it. No matter what it is, in Yin, each and every thought is equal
weightless. We just allow our awareness to become aware of them, to observe them. And we don't push stuff away in yin. Once we've become aware, we don't need to clear and then return to stillness. All we do is allow it to exist there, without pushing it away, but also without pulling it in. And then, just as we've observed that present moment, we then observe the next present moment. That might be the breath drawing in and out of your body. It might be the sensations that you feel, your body laying on the mat. When you're feeling ready, as slowly as you can, we're going to make our way nice and tall. We're coming into our next pose, which involves drawing the left leg out to the side and the right shin parallel to the front of the room. So this is option 1. Option 2 would involve taking that extended leg, and rather than having it out long, where the sole of the foot sort of touches the inner thigh and a knee, we instead have that foot all the way up and in, where the foot shines in towards your body. And then there's option 3, a little bit more intense on the abductors, on the outer hip. You would trace a line with that foot down until both shins stack. Now the start of this pose might look a bit more like this, and that is absolutely fine. In time, as you relax, it will melt down, but it's never about the aesthetic of the pose. It's always about how it feels. So it doesn't really matter where we land, where we start, as long as it feels okay for you. This can be one that requires a little bit of adjustments. So if you do need to grab a block, grab a blanket, sit up on something, that's absolutely fine. Many people find they need a blanket for either under this knee, or this ankle or this ankle. So just pay attention to what your body needs. And then when you're feeling ready, we plant the hands in the lap and we relax. In Yang Yoga, when we're seated, you might think about a lift in the root, a lift in the abdominals, a very slight lifting of energy that guides all the way up to the crown. In Yin, we relax into it. The spine starts stacked and then we soften. This is not necessarily slouching over on purpose, but it's just allowing yourself to fall wherever you naturally fall. Once you've fallen into your pose, melted down through the shoulders, we're going to do a very quick scan from crown to toe. Within your mind's eye, soften down each muscle as you go. From the forehead, through the ears, through the cheeks, the eyelids, the mouth, the jaw, down through the shoulders, the arms, every muscle in the torso, the pelvis, the upper legs, the lower legs. Yin and Yang is thought to be prevalent in everything. So it's about the balance of energy. And we always want that balance of energy within ourselves. And it's thought that our day-to-day lives in sort of modern times are extremely yang. And therefore, to counter that yang, we often have burnout, less proper cognitive function, mindless scrolling, things that allow us to be non-doing. So allowing a yin practice is a very intentional and beneficial form of being non-doing, bringing that yin balance into what is usually otherwise quite a yang life. Allowing yourself to be non-doing in a meditative state, which happens within each pose. We seem to fall more and more into that meditative state. The more we accept the body, the more we relax the body, the more we slow the breath, and the more time we spend in silence, where we give ourselves permission to just observe if the mind wanders. We don't become frustrated at the mind wandering. We just witness when it does. It doesn't matter how many times that happens. Each time we allow ourselves to reach for acceptance, allowing, observing, in present, and then return to the breath in the body. What is yin and what is yang is quite dependent and relative to what you're looking at. The sun itself is described as yang because it's warm rather than cool. It's moving because it's fire rather than still. Whereas the moon would be described as yin, as dark rather than light. However, if we were looking at just the moon, the superficial layer, the outside, would be described as yang, and the deeper we go, the more yin that material would be. Same with the sun. The outside is described as yang, whereas the deeper we go, the more it is described as yin. So the yin tissues of the body are hard, they're deep, deep within us, and they respond really well to yin movements. Yin movements aren't really something that we would practice in day-to-day life if we were just going around about our business. When we're walking or running, when we're typing, all of these are requiring movement, requiring muscles. And those muscles are switching on, causing something called a stretch response and protecting these deep yin tissues of the body. Whilst this is good because they don't like impact or fast movement, it can mean that they become underused. So we're just moving these deep parts of the body in a way that improves the lubrication in that area. It increases the lubrication. Sometimes you can almost feel this sort of liquidy coolness or warmth in some poses, like a release. And it also improves the strength and length of the ligaments and tendons. So we're just slowly working with these deep parts of the body. This is a secondary benefit, or a first benefit, depending on what your goals are. We're going to take this top leg and come onto the other side before going into a counter pose. So we're moving on to the other leg. You might choose to just draw the other shin parallel and the other leg out long, or you might choose to go into square pose on the other side. We do have our counter pose coming up in just a moment after this pose. Relaxing the muscles, softening down. So our counter poses are mostly energetic. They are lovely for the skeleton as well. You'll often find that the body thanks you when you come into that counter pose after nice, intense poses. However, we mostly do them for the purpose of prana or chi, having that lovely free-flowing channel. So not only is yin amazing for the cognitive function, because we're allowing that time in stillness. We're allowing the mind to be quiet. It can still experience thoughts, we're just not responding or reacting to what we observe. We're allowing the ego and the identity just to take a back seat whilst the observer or the witness steps into the front seat. It's also amazing for the physical body, the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, the deep yin tissues of our body. We're also working with the meridian system. So this could be defined as the energy body. It's derived from traditional Chinese medicine theories that there are ley lines running through your body. Each ley line carries energy through you, this divine life force that is thought to flow to and through every single person. But it's thought that as we carry tension in our body, that we can begin to block that natural flow of energy, creating either a lack of flow or a decreased flow through specific areas, all of which relates specifically to different internal organs and different emotions. For example, here we're targeting the liver and kidney meridians mostly, a little bit through the stomach and spleen meridians also. So these are thought to relate to feelings of courage and strength and release, along with feelings of contentment and safety. So it's thought that if you're feeling a particular emotion in excess or lack, that this can be indicative of potentially sometimes a lack of flow, a lack of harmony through that specific meridian. And many different practices like Tai Chi and acupuncture, reflexology and Yin all have that traditional Chinese medicine theory of the meridian system at the base, at the core of the practice. So each pose is not just designed as an easier route to meditative states than simply sitting there in silence for half an hour, but it's also designed specifically to target these very deep, powerful areas within your body. Okay, so we're about to come out of this pose, so we're going to use our hands to release ourselves away, and we're going to come onto our front. Make your way down as slowly as you can. Okay, so once we've made our way down, we're going to stack our elbows directly underneath our shoulders. This is both a counter pose and a pose in and of itself. It is Sphinx. However, if you want to intensify, you can absolutely come up into Seal. If we take Seal, just be mindful that it can be really, really difficult to not engage the whole body. We still want the target area to be released and relaxed. So, in your mind's eye, whether you are in Sphinx or Seal, we're relaxing the spine, all of the muscles surrounding it. You might relax the head, neck and chest, or you might want a little bit more energy or yang energy through that upper area. Completely up to you. The glutes, legs, thighs, everything softens through the lower body. If you have bolster, you can absolutely prop your chest or armpits up over that bolster. This can help with if you have very deep belly breaths. Sometimes people find them distracting in a pose such as Sphinx because they move your body a little bit. Meaning where we're trying to find stillness in the spine, it rises and falls with the breath naturally. Whilst this is absolutely fine as long as we are relaxed within the muscle, some people find it easier to have that lift in the chest by relaxing it onto a bolster or pillow. If we spend a lot of time on the computer or on the phone, then we probably won't want to
release the head and neck forwards, because we can overstretch these muscles in everyday life. Often that achy sensation in that area isn't due to tension of overuse, it's due to tension from underuse, from being hanging forwards too often. So you might prefer to keep a little bit more engagement if we do have this, or you might want to rest the head on a block just so it's completely relaxed but not hanging forwards.
Pay attention to the sensations that run through the back, the legs and the hips. We're in this pose for 2 more breaths. Well done. From here we're going to move into a counter pose, which also targets the upper outer shoulders, which can be really nice for releasing tension. So we're going to trace a line under with the left arm underneath the body, which will initially feel a little bit weird. We're then going to draw this right arm in a right angle round and plant the head on the forearm. From there, you're going to draw the right leg up to the right hand side. Now, if this feels far too intense on that upper outer shoulder, do not worry. Just come into this variation of the pose instead, where we have the right forearm in line with that right shin. Wherever we are, option 1 or option 2, we're going to be releasing through that lumbar spine and opening through the inner hip. So whilst frog is maybe too intense of a pose, for now, this will really prepare the body for frog. We have that lovely right angle in the leg. We have that release and relax through the hips. And every muscle is softened down here. Poses like this, where the whole body is supported by the ground, can be really amazing for the nervous system, for bringing calm. Within many of the poses, an element of yang energy is required from the physical body to hold us upright, such as our previous movement of the Sphinx, where the arms are slightly engaged. Whereas in a pose like this, we can be soft, engulfed into the ground, completely melted. When you're feeling ready, slowly drawing that leg back, arm comes through and we go onto the other side. So we draw the right forearm through, left leg comes out to the side, left arm comes underneath the forehead or the temple, and we relax down. You might find that what felt okay on one side
does not feel okay on the other side, or vice versa. So just listen to your body in the present. Do what feels right for you. If your mind begins to wander, just observe where it wanders to. It's completely normal for the mind to wander. All we need to do in Yin is observe and then return to stillness. When you're feeling ready, slowly draw both hands underneath your chest. Make your way onto your back as slowly as you can. We relax down for our Savasana. You can rest your hands on your tummy, down by your side. You could draw your arms back if that feels right for you. Do what feels right for your body. Pay attention to the rise and fall of the tummy. The rise and fall of the chest. And whilst your body is quiet and listening, we're going to repeat a mantra within our mind's eye. This could be something to do with the yin energy within you. I honor the yin energy within me. I am balanced. My yin and yang energy is balanced. It is okay to be rather than do. I am still and silent. I am the witness. Anything that resonates with you and feels right for you in the present, allow it to be intuitive, and allow yourself to breathe it in 3 times, as if you're drawing this mantra in to be absorbed by every cell and atom of your body. When you're feeling ready, gently draw your legs side to side, gently rocking through the lower back, and then rolling all the way onto one side, making your way up into a comfortable seat, and you are all done. Namaste.